And Father, when you add on to all of that I learned another magical spell. One that I specifically gained because I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what was going on inside of that head of yours. So I added another spell to my repertoire. One that let me read your mind, know your thoughts, your feelings. So you don't have to confess, Father. You don't have to tell me that you planned it all. You already did. You just don't realize it. And all of this brings us around to a single problem. What do I do with you, Father? I said, staring daggers at him. He disgusted me. He stood there, enraged, but for a moment he acted as if he was calming himself. Take a deep breath, straightening his suit, but I can still hear the thoughts in his head. This little bastard, he thinks he can play games with me, he thought to himself. Very well done, Reginald, my father exclaimed, slowly turning away from me, walking to the other side. It was a brilliant plan, my son, but there is something that you did forget to account for, Reginald, he said, palming a chair by a nearby table. You really shouldn't have told me that we were alone, Reginald. All at once he grasped the chair, picking it up and beginning to run across the room towards me. In a giant downward arcing motion, he swings the chair downward at me. The chair shatters, hitting the floor, breaking into pieces. My father looks down in confusion. But he was just here. What happened? He thought to himself. What a shame, Father, hears me announce. He looks over to find me sitting on his desk again. I thought I already told you I'm in control of your perceptions, Father. You see what I want you to see. Hear what I want you to hear. I'm not where you see me or him. I could be this time. Maybe you should give it a try. Maybe this time you'll hit. Tell me, what are you certain of, Father? Are you certain that it's night? Are you certain that you're standing where you're standing? Are you certain that you picked up that chair? How do you know what's real when, as far as you can tell, you're not in control of what you're able to perceive and what is real and what is not real? I hopped off of the desk, walking towards him, and in a flash, I'm by his side. He stumbles, falling backwards. What in the blast? What in the hell? What is this? I walk even further, closer and closer to him, sitting on the ground. I reach out and place my finger on his forehead. He simply stares at me in shock and confusion, unsure what to do. Tell me, Father, is this real? Do you really think I'm touching you right now? Or is it all just part of a illusion? Am I creating it, or is it actually happening? Which is it? People don't realize how powerful their perceptions are until they're not in control of them anymore. In essence, perception is next to reality itself. Control what someone perceives, and you control their reality. I might as well be your God, because you exist within my world. Little bastard. Little bastard. He thinks he's smart. He thinks he can game me with some magic trick. Thinks he can make a mockery of me. My father thinks to himself furiously. In an instant, he lunges forward, grasping me by the throat, pinning me to the ground. He squeezes. He squeezes with all his might, trying to crush the life out of my throat. You little nothing. That's all you are. Nothing. Your mother was a random piece of street trash. She's nothing more than a toy I saw covered in dust. And so I bought her for basically nothing. And I played with her. I played with her until I was satisfied that I had pulled all the usefulness out of her, he said, strangling me. His hair now no longer perfectly coiffed, sweating bullets, the vein in his head bulging outward, trying to squeeze the life out of his son. And you're just a byproduct of it. You're not worth the time I spent raising you. Maybe if you had been valuable in some way, maybe if you had inherited at least a fraction of the true strength of the Worthington household, you'd be worth keeping alive. But you're not. You're just trash, like your mother. I'll be gone with both of you, he said as he finally sees me stop struggling. The light's starting to fade from my eyes, and he smiled. He smiled as and everything seemed to fade. And then suddenly I turned to dust in his hands, sand slipping between his fingers. What a shame, Father, he hears me announce. Once again, I'm somewhere else. He looks to the side and sees me standing there, looking at him, holding the sand running through his fingers. You always were so proud of that strength of yours, Father. So resolved in the idea that if you couldn't solve something with money, you could solve it with those hands. And yet now, all of that strength amounts to nothing. You can't do anything with it. It's not going to save. It's not going to protect you. You can't claim what you want with it. It's worthless. And truthfully, so are you, I said, staring at my father. He looked at me aghast, his expression finally beginning to change. No longer rage. Finally, I could see the fear. No, it's not enough. Not yet. You want to know something else, Father? There are other things that are capable of being perceived. As I said, perception is the world in which we live. It is our senses that give the world context and meaning. When we are robbed of our control of them, it can be quite terrifying. Suddenly, my father feels a tightening sensation around his neck. A rope tightens, hauling my father to his feet, seeming to extend from nowhere. A noose, pulling him upwards. He struggles to stay on the ground, pulling at the noose. His breath becomes rapid. The muscles in his throat tight as he paws at the rope, trying to break himself free. But to no avail, obviously. And it stays like that for a few moments. Him struggling, trying to break free. The fear of strangulation setting in. I can't breathe. Why can't I breathe? Is this real? Am I going to die like this? This can't be happening. It can't be. He thinks to himself. Suddenly the noose dissipates, disappearing into thin air. My father gasps for breath, falling to his knees and breathing heavily, sweating profusely, drop after drop hitting the wooden floor of his office. This can't be happening. This can't be happening. I planned everything perfectly. Why is this happening? Just for a woman? A woman and a blasted child? No, I can still do something about this, he thought to himself. There still has to be a way. He's within 100 feet. If I can reach him, this'll end. But where? Where is he? I'm wherever I want to be, Father, I reply to his thoughts. The terror hits him even more as he looks over at me, wide-eyed. I told you, Father, I can hear what you're thinking. There is no part of you that is a secret from here. I know what you're thinking, and therefore, taking action beyond my knowledge or beyond my control is a laughable idea. What? Believe that silly little rope is the worst that I can do? That is the limit of fear. You are so wrong, Father, I said, glaring at him, and suddenly beings begin to urge one after another. Terrifying, misshapen, horrendous creatures crawling from the walls, razor-sharp teeth, eyes as black as coal from every direction. They begin to approach, surrounding him. My father looks around in horror. Now, tell me, Father, I say to him as he stares around in a panic. What is going on? I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. There has to be a way. There's not, Father, I reply to his thoughts again. Tell me, if I were to have these creatures devour your flesh and bones, would it be real? A look of sheer terror rolls across his face. I mean, surely it wouldn't be, right? They're not real. But what is real? As I said before, if perception is the way that we perceive reality, the way that we interact with it, and controlling perception is control of reality, whether it's actually physically happening to you or not, doesn't matter. You'll still feel their teeth tear into your flesh and bone, every single one. And when it's all over, we can do it again, because It's not real, Father. No matter how many times they tear you limb from limb, nothing will have actually happened to you. You simply feel it, perceive it, as if it did happen. So there's really no harm in repeating the process. At this point, my father can't breathe. He's so afraid. The thoughts running through his head terrify him, questioning everything: reality, life, death. The separation between perception and reality is a thin one, Father. So I'm going to do something now. I'm going to prove that I'm better than you are. I hold up my hand, snap my fingers, and in an instant, a small space clears in front of my father. In front of him lies ink, quill, official documentations, and the Worthington seal next to a lit candle. Before you lies the paperwork. These are all the official documents that one needs in order to exchange one's possessions. I'm going to give you this chance, Father. This one and only chance. Sign the papers. You will forfeit everything to me. Leave me the entire estate and all your possessions, your assets, your finances. As of this moment, it all belongs to me, and in exchange, get to leave. And when I say leave, I do it. Go somewhere far away, as far as your feet can carry you. If I ever see you again, if I hear your voice, if I feel your shadow cross over mine, then the nightmares you experience will not be an illusion. So, Father, I said, stepping forward, leaning over, looking him in the eye, are you willing to agree to the deal? A look of terror on my father's face. Tears start to well. Everything, give up everything to live. Just to live. Damn it all to hell. Damn this boy and his blasted mother. He grits his teeth. Well, Father, I ask again, is it a deal or not? The terrifying visages surrounding him close in ever closer. He takes a look around him, sees the creatures beginning to inch closer and closer, and in the moment he swallows his pride and signs the paperwork. He forfeits everything to his firstborn son, Reginald P. Worthington the First. I kneel down and pick up the paperwork, folding it up and tucking it away into an envelope, and suddenly all the creatures dissipate, fading away as if they were never there to begin with, because they weren't. Suddenly he can see someone else standing, a little girl, Alice, simply sitting in a chair, watching the entire ordeal. Wow, he got that pretty quick. I was expecting him to be more of a fighter. Well, I guess you can't have everything. Right, Reginald? I suppose you're right, Alice, I respond. But a deal's a deal. As I said, Father, since you agreed to the arrangement, I'll let you leave. I give you my word, I won't try to stop you or come after you. So long as I never see your face again, I don't care what you do with your life. Now get out of my house. My father gets up, slowly, the movement of a man who has simply just lost everything. Even the will to go on, barely moving at all, begins to make his way towards the door to the office. And suddenly, before he realizes it, Alice is standing in front of him. Well, I'm really sorry, Mr. Regimen, but I'm afraid you're not gonna be going anywhere. What? He says, looking down at Alice, smiling at him madly. You see, you threatened my regiment. You tried to kill him, wanted to take away something that was mine. Regimen may have let you go for the low cost of everything you possess, but I am not so forgiving, old man. The thoughts running through my father's mind were, if I'm magic, if I have this kind of power, Alice must have it as well. He's afraid, doesn't know what to do. His strength won't help him here. He turns to me. Reginald, you're still a Worthington, aren't you? A Worthington abides by his arrangements. You gave me your word, a deal. You told me I could leave. that you wouldn't stop me. I looked over to my father. Well, you are correct. I did give you my word that I wouldn't try to stop or bring harm to you, but I neglected to include any information about others. Alice is right. Unfortunately, I seem to have had a lapse in judgment in the way I stated the deal. I may be willing to let you go, but Alice is her own person. I can't really control what she's going to do. You know, you should have really thought about these types of things before you tried to kill me. Attempted acts of violence against others often cause those that care about those individuals to become enraged themselves and seek their own vengeance. If you had bothered to think that anybody besides you might actually care about me, you wouldn't be in this situation. So I'm afraid it's all yours to deal with. I began to hear Alice laughing louder and louder. You stupid old man. In a flash, Alice had jumped onto my father, knocking him to the ground, standing on his chest, her hand gripping into his throat. Those little cheap tricks might have been enough to satisfy Regiment's anger against you, but you have far from experienced the wrath of Alice Jane Wallengard. You're about to find out what happens to people who try to take away things that are mine. Alice raised her hand, and with a snap of her fingers, both her and my father disappeared in a flash of I might have thought of where Alice might have been taking my father, or what horrendous things she might be doing to him. But truth be told, I don't care. This night is my victory. To hell with everything else.